Okay, so for my diverse view interview on immigration, I went back. I called my buddy from back home and just gave a quick little interview and also just a little bit of conversation. So the first question that I started off with in this interview is immigration beneficial to a country? Both of us did agree. However, we both thought that proper immigration was very important. He's kind of, we're both strong against people that don't immigrate the correct way because it kind of like messes stuff up in our opinions. Um, Second question I popped up with was Congress should change the 14th Amendment, which the 14th Amendment is uh, two immigrants are able to have a kid in the U.S. and that kid's a U.S. citizen. Both of us had a little bit of disagreement there. I'm fine with it. I think that it's okay. I haven't really noticed any issues. He says no. Um, my buddy said that he feels it's wrong for immigrants to come into the nation, have a kid, and use that kid to stay in America. Because, in his opinion, he feels that kid kind of didn't really um, earn the right to be here. And that's where I disagreed with him because I felt that at some point in time in our family, going back to when people were coming in, is that you could, if he said that, he could say the same thing about um, his ancestry if his ancestry immigrated over at some point in time. Um, our third question was the issue with immigrants is that it's because of security. He says it's more of a process issue and the fact that our government in total doesn't really process immigration quickly and it ends up taking longer than he feels it should. I personally said it was a security issue. I think that a lot of illegal immigrants have kind of found their way in because we didn't really do as great of a job of stopping people coming in. So that's kind of where we met on that one. Number four was that immigration puts stress on schools. I personally said no. I think that it doesn't really matter for schools, at least from my perspective growing up. I didn't really notice a difference either way. And that I thought our schools generally handled our population of students pretty well. He said yes because I guess a cousin of his went to school in southern Texas, and southern Texas has a lot of illegal immigrants in certain areas where, I mean, it's not the greatest place to live, but they've got a lot more illegal immigrants. And he says that a lot of those students are usually they don't fit in or they have some sort of issue, whether it be like going into class on time, paying attention, or behavioral, anything like that, where they actually make it harder on students that want to be there to just get their education and get out. So he personally feels that immigration puts a stress on the schools because, from his experience, they've caused issues in classes. Our fifth question was that states should have their own immigration laws. Both of us agreed with no. We think that as a nation we should have the immigrant laws that apply to all states. I think allowing states to have discretion over who comes in and who doesn't is kind of weird and wrong because it's a weird situation. If they don't allow immigrants in, but another state does, that state's going to get a lot more people coming in. So their population is going to grow very quickly and they may not be prepared for it. He said no, mainly just because he thinks states having their own laws that are as serious as immigration is kind of almost the thought of separating their own state from the country. Um, Number six was that guest worker visas that immigrants are able to get their hands on make employment harder here in the U.S. for U.S. citizens. Both of us agreed. Um, I said that I thought it was wrong because I feel that most of the time the immigrants that I've come across have taken up jobs from other people, and obviously they do it for a lot cheaper because they don't exactly have the workers' rights that we do because they're technically not a citizen, so they don't have that stuff available to them. Um, he said yes, mainly just because he feels when immigrants come in, they come and take the jobs that obviously no one wants to do, but they're necessary. And because they're willing to do it for cheaper and they're more dedicated to the job, it makes it harder for U.S. citizens to take part in that job. Our sixth question that we ended up going over was undocumented immigrants, uh, and that they do help contribute to the U.S. I said it's possible. Obviously, there's some bad apples, but I think, in generally, when people come into America, they come for a better life, so they'll end up giving some back to the country, along with helping that our country treats them well. He says no. He thinks that most illegal immigrants that come in are just kind of getting their hands on freer health, like free health care and better services, while not paying the dues to become a U.S. citizen properly, and that most of the time they kind of just end up stealing money from people through. He said it was like some type of like inbox or something where they get unemployment money and they go under different names. Uh, I'm not too sure on that, but that's what he talked about, and I didn't really push on it because I didn't know. Our number 8 question was, should the U.S. extend help out to other countries in order to persuade other citizens to stay within their countries? I did say no. I think it's more important for us to make sure our own nation is done properly before we reach out and help others. He said yes because he felt that if we went out and helped other nations, that it would make the world in general kind of a better place, and that they would be less inclined to come here. So I was kind of not agreeing with him on that. I think that taking care of ourselves is the most important. Our number 9 question was that the U.S. must deny services to immigrants. We both agreed on this. We definitely think that illegal immigrants are they didn't come in properly, so for them to get the rewards of being an immigrant properly without doing all the classes and coming in the correct way is very wrong, because it's showing that doing the right thing and following the rules that America sets for you doesn't mean you're going to get what you should have. So we think it's more of just an honor system in terms of the people that did what they're supposed to do getting what they need first. Employers should be able to employ who they want. Both of us agree that employers should be able to employ whoever they want. Both of us think from a business perspective, because our majors are business, is that we feel companies are going to employ who they need to, so that way they can make the most amount of money with the least amount of cost. So if that means for them they're hiring immigrants that may not be able to get their hands on the minimum wage that most have, or they're not as demanding on wages that they can get stuff done at a much cheaper cost than what U.S. citizens may. Obviously, it's kind of opinionated, and being back where we're from, we kind of do come across situations where there's a pay difference. It's not very often that you see it. However, occasionally you can come across it, and it's kind of more of a hush-hush thing because it's not legal to employ illegal immigrants most of the time, but it happens anyways. Obviously, the both of us are not too far off. I thought that we were going to be kind of on opposite ends because I kind of sign more with, I'm down the middle politically in terms of parties, but I'm more towards the conservative side where I do think it's important to take care of ourselves first. And I'm not a huge fan of illegal immigrants or a large amount of immigrants. I do know that America is idealized as the melting pot and that we take in multiple people, but my worry is that taking in multiple people at a faster rate is going to make it really hard for our country to develop properly, where we don't have a lot of homeless or large amounts of crime or honestly just not enough housing and food for people. I think that in terms of what's important when you have these kind of conversations is to make sure you keep an open mind and stay calm. We did for the most part. I think there was one time that his voice kind of heightened when we were talking about um, immigration putting stress on schools because he personally had some bad experiences with it, and I kind of forgot to be open-minded and told him that it's not that big of a deal. But so we did have a little bit of disagreement there, and it got a little frustrating, but we took a couple minute break and kind of relaxed back out before we continued. I would say in general, it was really good conversation, learning more about how he viewed it. I was kind of surprised to see that we were more similar, and quite honestly, as long as we were able to keep a very honest and respectful conversation, I definitely think it's good to have conversations to find how other people around you and possibly people that you assume are on a different side of your perspective, to see how they feel about immigration and other important topics that we have going on around our nation.